apologize. In fact, he wanted to go
It
further
doesn't
with it,
even
and
remember.
they described it as very hot. And let's just say it. The executives at Disney were scared he was going to inflame tensions. And you know what I think?
What'd you do today, dog?
That these executives,
to the gym,
the
went for
reason why
Tino's,
they're
made
basically
dinner.
shutting down these employees that are
Yeah,
praising
what'd you
the death
make?
of Charlie Kirk, calling for
Carbonara.
more fanning the flames, is they're probably thinking, they're next. Nobody wants to be in the crosshairs. And if you're a media executive at a time when you've got two sides blaming the media, their editors probably sit down and shut up. Jimmy Kimmel said, no, I'm going to double down. And so this is crazy because the initial reporting was that they were behind him. And they said, you know what? You don't got to say anything. Jimmy, your monologue was fine. And then apparently he said, nah, I'm gonna make it even worse.
Yo, dog, you get the
So
fucking
they pulled
trash
him
can,
for
dog?
his own good. This is the rage cult. This is the death cult. They are more
Gotta get
angry
the
about
trash
Jimmy
can
Kimmel
and
losing
the
his
rocket
show,
simulator.
despite the fact Roseanne, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson also got pulled off the air. They're more concerned about that than the assassination of a young man in front of his wife and children. This is where we are as a country. Now, he issued a statement, and I'll give him some credit for it. He said, instead of the angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree that it's horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? I'm going to pause right there and say, thank you, Jimmy. That's correct. That is absolutely horrible. And then he goes on to say, on behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence. The back half is where he deflects from the actual issue at hand. His inflaming of political tensions, the overt political killing of a young man in front of his family in broad daylight and cold blood,
Dog,
to make it about
you gotta go
gun control,
fishing again.
which
dog.
wasn't the issue. This man has no remorse and no shame, and what is worrying to me is none of these other liberals do as well.
I think I wouldn't mind
You don't
going
wanna
like
catch
ice
fish?
fishing in Alaska or something and go fishing for crab, like Alaskan king crab or some shit.
Maybe it was actually the responsible thing.
Other than that, I don't think it's worth it.
It says interest is just for savings accounts. Sign up to EQ Bank for the best features of checking and high interest.
As far as like
Apparently the fish you
go,
can
he shouldn't
catch
have
up
been,
there is like,
but
they're like
he shouldn't have been taken off the air.
4 feet
But
long.
again, let me finish. But the point, but the fact that the left has been doing this to the right for a decade, I think that kind of puts us in a position where that kind of principle.
I'm never going that heavy on leg press again.
Has proven to be useless nowadays.
I'm
right?
still
Like
not clear on what principles you're...
principle of free speech. So like if
I
you're
don't think this has violated a principle of free speech at all.
Why?
Well, because in order to have freedom of speech, you do have to have ground rules, and he's not following them. In order to have
what do
the
you mean ground
marketplace of
Yeah, what do you
ideas,
mean?
in order to have a free marketplace of ideas, there need to be basic ground rules, and the people engaging in dialogue with each other at least have to have certain basic foundations in common. And one of them is being on the same page about the morality of action, like senseless, cold-blooded murder. If we don't have that, then we need to set about creating an environment of order rather than
In Canada,
freedom.
if somebody's a prime minister
I agree, not entirely, but
and then
enough.
they end their
And
term
what I
in
would say to
office or
this
whatever,
is,
can they
the
become
reason
prime
why
minister
I
again?
don't
Why
care
would they,
about Jimmy Kimmel,
when you say end their term, what do you mean?
Kimmel getting fired is largely for what you're describing, in that we do not
Like,
have a shared moral worldview.
like, I
Jimmy
guess if
Kimmel
they just
is a
lose,
willful
right?
liar for the purpose of
Yeah.
creating problems, fear, pain, and suffering.
They can be,
And
but like,
we
is
every day
there
try
a
to
limit?
shine a light on what's going on.
You said is there what?
A limit?
No,
How
there's
many times they
there's
can-
there's no limit in Canada. There's no term limit.
So it is possible that Mr. Trudeau will come back.
Yeah, it's funny how they talk shit about Trump trying to be a king when a place like Canada that they say is such like a democratic utopia where you actually can be a king. Yeah, if you want to become prime minister, you can become prime minister for 60 years, you know.
And I'd have to learn how to speak French though, right?
That's a gay shit.
understand.
Altitude. Altitude.
Carbonara. Carbonara. You know what carbonara means in Italian?
Yeah.
No, I guarantee you don't.
Pull up.
I'm looking at it right now.
Well,
You know, it
part of the
is,
meaning
right?
is basically black pepper.
No, that's not it. That's not right.
Nice, dude.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to educate you, but
Nice, dude. You know what does it mean, bitch?
listen.
Altitude.
What?
I said, what does it mean?
It means ass muncher.
Nice, dude.
And it's not my fault you can't accept reality, okay? The Italians knew this is a way to separate the liberals from the Republicans back in Italy. They came up with a dish so gay
Nice,
that
dude.
only fags would make it. Look up your history, okay? These are your own people, and you don't know them.
My attitude is the people should have the knowledge to the best of our abilities to convey so they can make the decisions for themselves. I want nothing more than to leave you alone, mind my own business, but hope that you, with correct information, will do good, will do well. Jimmy Kimmel is the inverse, where he says, I'm going to lie to you so you do what I want, and that leads to death.
If I were a Disney executive, I would say, what am I paying for? It's a comedy show. Where's the comedy here? This is not funny. You're not a talk show host. I mean, maybe there are different parameters if you're doing a hardcore, free-for-all talk show. This is an evening comedy show that presumably adults watch right before they fall asleep at night. And I think that's been part of the problem. It's why these shows are losing their audience. They're hyper-political. They're not funny. They're funny in a mean way because they go after conservatives, and the leftists think that's so great to watch people bitch slap conservatives. And that's the appeal of the show. It's one reason I don't watch that stuff anymore, and I used to.
To your point, like, I think that's what I was getting to at like the second half of my comment, right? If you're going to talk about a principled stand, you're going to say, well, I have the principle of free speech, and I think that you should be able to say whatever you want, just as long as it's not specifically inciting. That's the principled stance. But the follow-up to that, which I was saying, was basically in line with what you were saying. Like, we're in a situation where the ground rules aren't the same for everybody, and the left has been doing this. And you look at the way the left has been reacting, they're saying, oh, all these people, how come you were so pro-free speech before, but now you're not? It's like the left.
Real quick, just there's an alert that went out about 40 minutes ago right before I started the show. Unconfirmed reports of a gunman on UNC Wilmington campus. They're advising everyone to shelter in place. So if you haven't heard that, please look into it. Hope everybody's okay. And based on the video I've seen, I don't know how credible reports is. There's a video of a man walking, carrying some kind of long gun, but I don't know about how.
What?
This is North Carolina. Just because someone's seen with a weapon doesn't mean anything happened yet, but please look into it, and we'll take that seriously. And anyway, back to the point about free speech. Just want to make sure that people are safe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this even is, again, I don't think that free speech is the issue at hand. People will try and make it about free speech, but it really is about the inflammatory nature of the way that the left has been talking about the right, and the results of that have been murder now.
I just don't really care at all anymore. We believe in freedom of movement. We believe that individuals can move between states and cities, and then violence breaks out, and the police set up barriers saying nobody can cross, and we have no problem, right? If there's a riot or shootings taking place, and the police block the street with their car, and they say you can't go through here, we don't go, hey man, you're violating my rights. We go extenuating circumstances. There are circumstances where we recognize rights will be infringed upon, I suppose is one way to describe it.
Holy shit,
and so my view is largely when they are killing people, when the death threats have reached an extreme degree, when we are in a political environment where Charlie Kirk was assassinated and they celebrated it, there comes a point where you say,
whoa,
we have to be a little bit more serious about how we enforce the law than to just take the light approach. And the best example I can give is, whereas 5 years ago, if someone tweeted something like, oh, won't someone rid me of this Alad Eliyahu, we would all say, okay, like, we get the point. Today, if someone tweeted, oh, won't someone get rid of this Alad Eliyahu, I'd say that's a death threat, and they should be charged for it. And the reason why is, I'll elaborate as well. I believe the context of the person's character and social feeds matter for this. So there was a video I recorded earlier on the Tim Pool channel. Check out Tim Pool show at Tim Pool. And subscribe. Michael Knowles was talking about why we should prosecute Destiny and Hassan Piker. Literal criminal prosecution for the statements they've made. I don't know about Destiny. Destiny said if you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive, Trump should not have been president the second term, and he also said that conservatives should have to fear death or something to that effect, which can only be done when conservatives are being killed. However, Hassan sent a photo, this is my understanding from Michael Knowles' video, a photo of a makeshift weapon that was used to assassinate a political leader to a politician. Now, again, that's my understanding from the video. If that wasn't the case, whatever. I'm using to illustrate a point. If someone has a history of saying things like, let the streets run red with their blood, kill them, like Hassan has, and then in the event, he sends a photo of a makeshift weapon that was used in an assassination, the intent is clear. However, if there is a mechanic who, Mythbusters, right? If one of the Mythbusters guys sent a picture of this weapon to somebody, we'd be like, what's he trying to say by that? I don't think the Mythbusters guy is threatening with death. And he does, in context, talk about makeshift devices and things like that. So the context there is different. In the past, we have seen what I refer to as the Tweedle Me Tweedledum death threat, where one person would say, you know, we really should be rid of these priests, and then someone pointed a lot and say, that's the priest.
How was your vacation, dog?
Each individual statement becomes death threat. Together it is.
No, serious, how was your vacation?
nice.
I say, now we should. The half statement counts.
Yeah, dude, how was
if
it
you're standing next to somebody
over there?
and you say, go kill Nazis, and the person says they're the Nazis, you're both under arrest because you both issued a death threat.
How expensive was it?
These stupid games. So when people are like, the free speech of Jimmy Kimmel, no, I'm not playing this game anymore.
Nice.
First of all, nobody watches this show anymore. His ratings were collapsing. But to go on TV and lie, and this is evil. We are fighting people who are trying to get us killed. There are people who are posting lists online, and I've said this for the past several nights, the past week, because it's happening. They're submitting to the FBI, where they're saying, kill these people next. They're saying, or it's more vague than that. They're saying, hey, you should do this next, and it's a list of people's names like mine, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, whatever. So when Jimmy Kimmel goes on his show, while Democrats are all celebrating his death, saying there should be more, justifying it, and then he goes, the guy was a MAGA guy anyway. Now you've got a problem of a critical mass of people who are going to start more murders, more riots, and I have zero sympathy for Jimmy Kimmel. I literally don't care. I literally don't. And on top of that, while I do agree with the idea of free speech, if you want to make jokes, I'm drawing the line at what Jimmy Kimmel did for mocking Trump. That's fine. He wants to make fun of Trump, he can be a dick. Lying about the intent of a mass shooter to inflame an audience and potentially lead this country to serious conflict and crisis is nuts. And I'll just say this. There is a fine line What would happen, let me ask you guys, if Jimmy Kimmel went on his show and said, I think everybody should use violence to defy Donald Trump? What do you think would happen if he did that? He'd be taken off the air in 2 seconds. He'd probably be criminal charged with sedition or something. He is doing 1% of it.
Whoa!
But I do not believe for a second that he did not
Oh,
know about the motive of the shooting.
fuck, that was
I don't believe that for a second. Which means any reasonable conclusion is that Jimmy Kimmel intentionally
You
lied.
see how close that was?
Fanning the flames.
Oh,
And for what reason?
where's this ship?
Wayfair presents
Off the
dining
coast
tables
of
and
like
chairs.
Rhode Island or
Dig
New York
into
or
great
something.
prices with dining sets in every style, all from just $250.
Yeah, is it got a warthog?
Savings. Mix and match styles to suit
Oh, it's a
your
UAV
taste.
thing.
Pull up a chair or a stool and roll in a new bar cart, all with fast and free shipping straight
Yeah,
to
try to
your
land
door.
on it, dude.
A new table from Wayfair? Now that's a good move.
Well, I don't have
Shop
the
dining furniture for way less.
cable,
at Wayfair.
Yeah, that's very convenient. Very convenient, dude. Just say you're not good enough to do it, fucking loser.
Bro, I'm pretty sure it's not possible to land on a carrier without some sort of
However you book your car, first check
stopping
Kayak to
you.
filter your rental search by car type to find exactly what you need. Then do what people do. Remember your bald spot. Look at other people's bald spots. Look for solutions. Buy a hair. Realize you haven't booked the car yet. Back to Kayak for a great deal.
What he spread was a blood libel.
It's not the plane, dog. It's the pilot.
Contention.
It's an intentional
Yeah, if your
lie.
car doesn't have brakes, so you're
There's
supposed to
no
just
way
stop.
his heart of hearts would actually thought Tyler Robinson, yeah, he's a Trump supporter. Obviously, that's not the case. And I do
Nice.
think that
When there's a will, there's a way.
against
I stood.
ostensibly encouraging people, not in his face-to-face audience, but the larger audience that watches him, to take action.
Descend to 500 feet, maintain altitude.
And there was
Really Kirk is one of them.
there's no reason for him not to have come on the show and says, I really don't get this. He could have gone on the show and said, so it turns out that this shooter
Disengage
actually had,
afterburners.
left-leaning values. Now, of course, we all reject that, don't we? They'd all clap and cheer. He could have done that. They'd have cheered for him, and he would have said, we're not going to be blamed for the actions of a madman, but we will denounce
Psych.
this because we're good. He could have done that. He
Fuck
didn't.
it.
He said it was
Piece
one of
of
their
shit,
own
bro.
who did it. And where the hammer comes down is when he said, according to this report from CNN, he was going to double down. So when they went to him and said, hey, guy, behind the scenes, it wasn't a MAGA guy, he said, I don't care. He said, I'm going to double down. Now, that is intent. He was trying to make things dangerous and worse in this country. There's a point at which you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. We say, many people wrongly say you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You literally can't. I think it's Brandenburg VO. You can't. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. However, there's a circumstance where you can't yell. What would that be? Let's just say there's 10 guys with rifles aimed at an innocent person and you yell fire. It's a ridiculous analogy, but my point is clear. When the speech you normally say, in and of itself, has no bear. Imagine if you were standing in an empty field and a guy walks by and you yell fire, and the guy will go, huh? Now imagine if you're standing with a bunch of men with guns and you yell fire. The context is very, very different. If Jimmy Kimmel's intent in context is to ignite throw a spark on a pile of tinder, then I think we say enough and we don't let him do it.
I think they were looking for an excuse to get rid of him anyway. As you pointed out, his ratings are lower than Stephen Colbert's even were before he got pulled. So,
Let's pull it.
anyway, it was inevitable.
Let's pull it up. We got this report from Sky.com. Kimmel fired for lack of talent. Trump says as Obama decries government coercion. Kimmel used his show on Monday to criticize Donald Trump for his response to the assassination of Kirk, among other things. Now, Trump's not wrong.
What do you think would
New York Post
happen
says Jimmy Kimmel's
if
ratings will
the internet like shut down for like a year?
For Charlie Kirk comments. They say Nielsen data showed sharp summer declines and a year-long slide that leaves him trailing late-night rivals such as Fox News' Greg Gutfeld and Colbert. According to monthly Nielsen figures, Jimmy Kimmel Live dropped to just 1.1 million total viewers in
I
August,
think it would get better or
down
worse.
43% from January's 1.9 million. His August
I think
household
things
rating, 0.35, marked the weakest
will get
showing of the
better
year. The
after a while.
advertiser,
I
get
think
this,
people would have to
The advertiser coveted 18 to 49 demo, also
I
great.
feel like a lot of people would have
Kimmel
to get real
averaged only
jobs.
129,000 viewers in that bracket in August. Holy crap! All from 212,000. Let me take this time to brag that
Well, I have no
while
fuel
I
left,
was sick most of
so I
August
have to
and
land.
unable to work, the show,
Unless I
hosted by
wants
Phil
to
Labonte
die.
and with some special guests towards the end of the month, was still averaging around 500,000 in the key demo. And don't get me wrong, where network television used to be, that's small. That's very small. Jimmy Kimmel at 129,000 viewers. Yo, I think I got a video of a cat on my Instagram that does better than that. That's not a joke.
No!
It's a video of a cat, and it's looking like this.
Nice.
And it says when it's Tuesday, but you've already given it your all, and the cat's like just super tired, and it plays that song from Enya, you know, who can say, and it's got like 500,000 views. So I can post a cat meme and have a bigger show than Jimmy Kimmel. That's why he got booted.
That's probably right. It's a lousy show. He's aging out of the key demo anyway. I think if you look,
Yeah, dog,
his
those are
audience
people.
has moved on. The new audience isn't interested. And you go back to Letterman. Letterman was hilarious. And then Letterman got
I went
mean,
through the
nasty,
building, dog.
and became hyper-political, which nobody really needs to see on this type of program. And I think it's one of the reasons that people are abandoning network TV in general.
What kind of defense capabilities do these ships have?
Don't do it. But at Batano, our players sure are. Join in the fun.
I don't know what they're called, but they have the really high fire rate guns that I think they can shoot at missiles. Try to take them out. I'm sure they have a missile defense
It's
system.
kind of crazy.
He loves
Sends a
crying
missile
on the
to
show.
take out missiles.
He's really the worst when it comes to the emotional outbursts.
This is the one gun incident that he hadn't cried.
He is psychologically unstable. He needs help. That much cannot be denied. He has cried on camera way too many times. I think he gets a thrill out of forcing people to witness his vulnerability. So that's the first reason why he, in my opinion, is the worst of the late night hosts. But also
If a big liberal had been shot.
But also because of who he used to be. And I'm not shaming or saying that he should have remorse or regrets over the Man Show. But it's really disturbing that Jimmy Kimmel then can be the same man as Jimmy Kimmel now. That doesn't make sense to me. It's not
But
supposed
with no consequence.
He wants us to just forget about who he was in the 2000s. And
When other people are not allowed to turn the page in their lives, they
Right.
get completely canceled. No new opportunity to reinvent themselves.
That's what would have been a cancellation. If someone went and clip farmed from the Man Show, posted a thread on X, and everyone's up in arms about how he was such a chauvinist, and then people are calling for his show
People
to get
did it.
pulled, right? That would be cancel culture.
People have done it, but it doesn't
This is
impact the
not
left.
cancel
No,
culture.
he didn't get canceled for doing blackface. He
That
didn't
too.
get,
Don't make
canceled
us
for-
pull up the photos. Neither of
Yeah,
us
it's
want
just not
that.
possible
Because
to
he's
land
on the
a
left.
carrier
I think
without
the crying on camera
the
too is a
cable
virtue
or
signal
the
to
net.
awfuls because they love that. If you want to get
Yeah, give me the
rich,
controls, dog.
affluent, white
Nice,
liberal
dude.
women, they love it when you cry for them. I think that's a virtue signal
Is
for.
it like a sadism thing? Like they like seeing
they
him
like
in
making
pain?
men cry. They derive pleasure from trying to make weak men cry. I think Bob Iger here is not letting a good crisis go to waste. So while it's convenient, he's getting rid of Kimmel. The medium is dying. Late night shows are dying.
But I don't think
He
they're
wasn't
gonna get rid
doing
of.
very well
That's
before
another
that,
thing.
regardless. But
They're gonna just give him an on-ramp to come back. They're already hinting at it now that they want it to be possible to bring back the Jimmy Kimmel Live.
he's going to go the
Sure,
Don
but-
Lemon
In the
route
future.
very soon.
The Wall Street Journal has this story. Basically, it was advertisers. It wasn't just Nexstar and Sinclair. Advertisers had called who had already purchased slots. And let me tell you guys, last week when the tragic news broke and we were all kind of suffering through this, not like we had it worse compared to the family or those who actually were there and had to deal with it, don't get me wrong. I was asked, hey, are we going to do ad reads? And I was like, no way. And it's like, listen,
Doug, you want to play
tonight we have very,
Mean
very
Craft?
awful news to report about.
No.
Why not, cunt?
Because I don't want to fucking spawn on the other side of the
That's what
world.
you get for being a fucking faggot.
Some fucking faggot put dirt in my fucking house. Where's armor? Fucking attacks a defenseless person, dude.
Nice. Fucking faggot has full diamond armor and says he's defenseless.
What else you got to play?
Fucking
Shut your
faggot
fucking
retard.
mouth, man. What else you got to
I
play?
was defenseless, guys. Even though I had full diamond armor.
Fuck.
You should do a YouTube channel where
I
you
sound
just speak like
yeah.
that. Yeah, fuck off, dude.
Nice.
What else you got to play?
Java.
Faggot, dude. Yo, play League.
Nice.
Play it, dude.
This guy's bipolar, dude. For months he tells
Damn
me to
right
play
I am.
Minecraft. And he's like, oh, play League. Yo, you're a faggot playing League. And now you want me to play League again. What a fucking retard.
No, but I want you to play it. It's fucking BMG or whatever.
I don't have that game, so how can I play the game I
You'll
don't have?
fucking buy it, you
fucking
fucking
retard. Fucking bit, man. Fucking bit.
Fucking retards just jumping around, dude. Nice.
Someone we knew, and the nightmare that is emerging in this country. So from that day, the rest of the week, we did not do ad reads on IRL. But there's another reason, and it's important to say, I know maybe a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but what brand wants to be the brand sponsorship of the death of a beloved personality? So it was like when CNN ran that commercial from Chili's or whatever. You guys remember this?
Yes.
It was like air raid sirens going off in Ukraine and bombs were like about to drop, and then all of a sudden it does a side-by-side where a guy's shaking his butt and singing about drinking beers or something.
Yep.
And everyone was like, this is the worst thing you could have ever done. Imagine being an advertiser who already bought ad space on Jimmy Kimmel's show. You hear him say this, and you're going, get my ad off that show. So they all call ABC and say, do not run my ad on that man's show right now. I don't want to deal with the boycott. This is the lesson. This is the Bud Light effect.
But if ABC was smart, they would have told him, hey, don't even talk about it. You know, give people a distraction from this horrible news. Run the show. Be funny.
They were
be
smart.
amusing.
They were smart. Jimmy Kimmel said no.
Yeah, that's right.
He was going to double down.
That's right.
He said he was going. The reporting is that he was going to attack Trump supporters again, and they were probably just like, okay, this man is unhinged. It sounds like, I'm going to give you my personal opinion. I don't think the executives went, Jimmy, we don't think you did anything wrong, so we think you should go on with your show. And then Jimmy goes, then I'm going to double down. Well, hold on there, Jimmy. We don't think it's a good idea. For your own good, we're going to stop your show. There's no way, in the span of a couple hours, they politely and calmly said, your show won't be aired. Sorry, Jimmy. I really doubt it. I think they probably said, do not do it. And he said, I'm going to do it.
All right, I'll be back.
Yep.
They said, don't do it. He goes, I'm going to do it anyway. And they said, Jimmy, I swear to God, if you go out there and that's your intent, you will not do this show. And he said, I will not have you stop me. I'm willing to bet it was much more contentious. And Jimmy, listen, it's actually quite simple. The reporting says that they wanted to bring the temperature down. If Jimmy Kimmel came out with an apology, everything would have been fine. Jimmy Kimmel was going to double down and was refusing to apologize. That sounds to me like he argued with the executive saying, I refuse to apologize. So they said, then no more show for you.
He probably didn't even have to apologize. He probably just had to do a comedy show without a lot of slamming Trump.
At Vistaprint, we print signs so people can see your
supporters. Seriously, that's all you have to do. I mean, do we have to infuse everything with politics? I do politics. I did a talk show for 8 years. It was all politics. People would call and say, why are you obsessed with politics? I'm like, it's a political talk show. I'm not doing a comedy show. If I'm doing a comedy show, then I've got a lot of other stuff I can go work from. I don't get it.
If Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, or whoever, these like Seth Meyers, if their comedy shows were actually just cultural comedy, you know who's really good at it? Ryan Long. Ryan Long's great at it. He'd have 1 million in the ratings. He'd have 1 million in the key demo. You know how I know? You want to know how I know, guys? Because Kill Tony does. Because Kill Tony, every Monday night, does his streaming. It's like 1 to 2 million viewers. And it's largely key demographic. Now, they talk about politics quite a bit, but to be fair, it's a stand-up show. It's not an over talk show. But I am telling you, if you had Tony Hinchcliffe hosting one of these late-night shows, and he was willing to dish it in any direction, you'd have 1 million. I'd be watching it.
Evenly.
I wouldn't say evenly. I would say fairly.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be evenly. Like if they have a preference to have jokes about conservatives, but they weren't always malicious about it, and they had some jokes about Democrats or progressives or whatever, I think that you'd see a lot less vitriol. But it was a significantly fewer amount of people that are so upset about Jimmy Kimmel and the way that he behaves. But it was always in one direction, and it was always malicious. It wasn't meant to be in fun. There was no, we're all laughing here. It was intended to be insults directed at one group of people all the time.
Right. Can we just make things a little bit interesting? Well, we'll get that in a little bit, in a quick second. Sorry. Let me read a little bit more from this article. They say that Jimmy Kimmel's salary was reportedly $15 million to $16 million a year, with some outlets noting the bonuses can push his annual earnings above $20 million. How? Where's that money coming from? Now, let me just say, I run a business here at Timcast. I know all of our numbers, where the money comes from, where the money goes. And based on the viewership that we get, which is much, much larger, we do all right. We do all right. But there's ain't no way anybody who works here is going to be getting $20 million a year. So I got questions. I got questions. To be fair, 1 million in the ratings per night, depending on who you're selling to, Boomer's got a lot of money. Most of those viewers are Boomers, and his key demo ratings are no good. The scary reality here, I guess, is that the key demo ain't the key demo no more. 18 to 49-year-olds ain't got any money. So if you want to sell a product and you want to see that actually land, you really do want to be targeting 60-year-olds, because Boomers are the only one with any real capital.
Also, as you've pointed out, there are less of the 18 to 29-year-olds in general.
That's exactly.
Boomers, there are just less of them to go around. And his salaries, not even to mention the salaries of all these people working on his show, which is probably, it might be around 100 people total. I don't know, maybe hundreds. If we get to the administrative bloat territory, it's probably hundreds of people whose livelihoods depend on this show, and Jimmy Kimmel just covered that in gasoline and threw the match.
I want to jump to the story from the Daily Beast and start by saying Jimmy Fallon cancels appearance after Kimmel's show gets cut. We won. Congratulations. Winning now does not mean winning forever. You may invade and conquer great lands, and one day those lands may be conquered back. But when Jimmy Fallon cancels an appearance after Kimmel's show gets cut, that means I'm going to give you my opinion on this one. It's all opinion, because we don't actually know what happened. He was supposed to do some event, and he canceled it. It sounds like ABC had an emergency meeting. It sounds like these networks had an emergency meeting and said, all hands on deck. We got to discuss what you are doing on your shows. And I think what we're likely going to start seeing is these late night shows drop the political games. We got this from NBC News. CNBC, sorry. FCC Chair Carr says we are not done yet after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. I bet all these networks just said, we cannot go to war with the government. So shut your mouths. And I say, okay.
Which mine
I know
is
the left
this?
is going to be like, but free speech, it's so chilling when the government...
Don't know.
The FCC has always existed, has always regulated what network television can do with their access to the airwaves, and it is not the same thing as, say, look, Jimmy Kimmel.
So jump down
Be
there.
like Don Lemon, ain't nobody stopping you. But if you want access to the public airwaves, you are regulated by the FCC, and I ain't crying about it.
And there used to be a general consensus
that goes
about
that
what
far.
was acceptable and what wasn't. There were outliers. I mean, I remember when Howard Stern was perceived as like totally outrageous, crazy. You know, we've got to shut him down. They tried to bring him to Richmond, and all the conservatives in Richmond freaked out, and he actually didn't survive in Richmond. But he was an outlier. Now you look at it, and you think there isn't a general consensus about what's acceptable. And the difference between broadcast TV, broadcast radio, and everything else on the internet blurs that line. What people will accept is different today. The stuff that people regularly consume online would have, people would have had heart attacks and died 20 years ago.
I think we're just in yet another situation where the left is writing fan fiction about what's happening that I wish were reality. And they're talking about how the government is chilling speech and they're the culprits behind all of this. And then if you actually look into the story, the FCC, at least according to the information we have now and according to what Brendan Carr has said, the FCC was not the catalyst for any of this. It was the affiliate stations. It was from the bottom up. It was private companies. And they were private companies standing up to conglomerates. It had nothing to do with the government catalyzing this whole chain of events. I do wish it I do continue wishing that, like, who Trump portrays himself to be in tweets and Truth Social posts were reality, but he's not actually serious when he says, like, let's shut the people up, we're giving the unfair coverage. Like, he's not serious.
I'm gonna make it real simple for everybody. What is a government? Who wants to answer this one? Bill, what is a government?
Well, I mean, it's an organization, at least in our country, that's voted on by the people in order to do certain basic things. In my opinion, the role of the government is to protect property rights, make sure that there's a military to protect borders, and provide courts for redress of grievance. And as far as I'm concerned, that's about all that I think the government should be doing.
All right. I mean, the general idea of government is controlling authority structure over a nation, its borders, and its people. And in the United States, I think you are largely correct as to how it operates. So I agree that's what a government should be. It should be a structure of the people for the purpose of protecting the rights of the people and ensuring that those rights aren't infringed upon, ensuring protection from external forces, in which case, my view on all of this is very simple. As I've stated before, there are two different worlds occurring within the same country. This is a conversation that has been had for almost 7 or 8 years now, and it's a conversation I did not bring up. Many individuals and academics have pointed to the fact that there exist two different countries. Stephen Marsh, I cite quite regularly, a smart man, despite being a liberal and we disagree. He is a smart guy on this matter, much more learned than I, and he said there are two countries existing within the borders of the United States, a multicultural democracy and a constitutional republic. And he said, I am of the multicultural democracy. And I said, interesting, I am of the constitutional republic. In which case, the answer is quite clear. If my government drops a bomb on someone like Soleimani, I don't care. I mean, I prefer that he doesn't do it. I know Ilad's over here nodding like, come on, let's prefer that we do it. My point is, when the U.S. government engages in military actions for the betterment of the interests of the country, the questions that I have are this justified? Is the appropriate use of force? I don't go, oh heavens me, they murdered somebody. I say, this is war and military, right? Here's a better example.
In Alpha Sense, there's just a single button which allows me to look at millions of documents and summarize key insights. That saves me tremendous amounts of time.
Who are you? I'm Deckard.
Dexter. Everyone's raving about the killer new hit, Dexter Resurrection.
There's more where that came from. Glad to be back.
Dexter Resurrection. All episodes now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
The social media platforms all say that advocating for violence is an immediately bannable offense. However, if you went on your social media platforms and say Donald Trump was correct in dropping a bomb on Soleimani and blowing him up, you would not be banned. Because even YouTube agrees the context of the terms of service and the calls for violence only applies within a nation. Now, we are not yet at the point where I would say we have a manifest two different distinct countries by which that rule would apply internally. As it would apply to the FCC, that's exactly how I feel. So when they come to me and they say, but Tim, free speech, and I'll say, sure, and I don't really grant freedom of movement to terrorists in Iraq or Afghanistan. I don't think the US should be there. But this is my point. You would not grant freedom of movement to Russians in Ukraine, despite not being anywhere near there. My view is largely, we have a government of for and by the people. It's us. They're not us. They seek to destroy us. They are an entirely separate system. They don't believe the same things we do. They don't believe in the same laws. And they're willing to lie to steal power, cheat, and even kill someone like Charlie Kirk. When I see this government engaging in actions that is within the Constitution, but is shutting down the illicit speech, and I mean like the threats of violence and all that stuff, I'm not going to cry about it. I am not going to cry when Jimmy Kimmel gets his show taken off the air, even though I do agree with people having the right to free speech, because these people are trying to destroy us, and as they say, all is fair in love and war. If it's a culture war, then so be it. I am not going to reach my neck out and defend evil people. And so long as the Trump administration and the current government is protecting us as Americans, and I'm not even playing that heritage American game. All Americans, even people who immigrate here, and I may or may not agree. Someone comes here right now, they literally just landed on a plane, and they've got a legal visa, and they say, you know, in 1 year you'll have finalized your citizenship, and that person is protected as well. These liberals, the left, are advocating for non-citizens to cross the border and be constitutionally protected. That is a violation of our social contract. I am not going to protect those that do not exist in the same world as we do. My government is for us, the American people, and these people are clearly acting outside of that when they murder, lie, cheat, steal, and what did Jasmine Crockett say? Committing a crime doesn't make you a criminal. That quote's going viral right now. So when you come to me and say, but Donald Trump is doing bad things to all of these people, I'll say they're not Americans, right? I'm sorry. And I'll stress, he's not even doing anything unconstitutional.
Oh.
So I'm not going to even, normally, in a normal circumstance, if Trump, the FCC said we're gonna go after this show or whatever, I'd be like, we gotta be careful about slippery slope. I ain't slippery sloping anything. These people aren't us. Jimmy Kimmel lying to the American people about the political leanings of a shooter to justify the murder of Charlie Kirk? There's no slippery slope defense or anything from me. I'm going to say, oh, that sucks for you. And it's not even the FCC that did it. It was advertisers. So spare me your lies. I'm done playing your games. I won't defend you. And if Donald Trump goes and starts arresting Antifa, I'm going to be like, okay, they're terrorists. Sorry. I watched a guy in Black Bloc throw an explosive at an 80-year-old woman when I was in Berkeley 7 years ago. And you mean to tell me that's protected speech? I'm not playing these games. Trump, go arrest all of them, and I ain't going to cry about it.
And it's refreshing that people on the right are finally coming around to that realization, growing up a little bit and realizing that when you have power, you do need to wield it, especially if you want to keep it and you don't want to be oppressed. These people cannot be taken at face value. It's just the constant, look at their hypocrisy, look at the left's hypocrisy narrative. That discourse just has exhausted all of its value. It's not worth calling out their hypocrisy anymore.
People on the right thought that this was all just going to shake out. Like, if we just stay cool, it's going to shake out. And I'm really tired of seeing decent people who do have some sort of standard and morals and polite nature being played and having their good intentions used against them. And so at some point, without devolving into a nation that's at war with itself, I think we're close to that already, unfortunately. And I'd like to be one of the people who try to stop that from happening on a regular basis, but we've got to send a message that we're not going to tolerate this. I told somebody the other day, don't complain about a young person who thinks it's okay to shoot someone over political disagreements. When in Virginia, John Hinckley Jr., who shot Ronald Reagan, is walking around Colonial Williamsburg with no problem. I mean, we let him out. We said, "Oh yeah, you were crazy back in 1981." So, but you know, time has gone by. We're going to let you walk around. I think that sends a signal. We're not serious about this. We don't really. If you can shoot the president, and 30 years later you're free to go play your guitar in the local bar in Williamsburg and nobody says anything about it, that sends a signal to everyone.
Let's jump to the story from Mediaite to exemplify the point. Fox News' Kennedy sounds the alarm over Kimmel's suspension and warns Democrats could use precedent to target Fox. My response is, Kennedy, do you have amnesia? You work for Fox Business, I believe, and Tucker Carlson was kicked off the air. All his advertisers were pulled. Megyn Kelly got fired. I think she was was it NBC she was working for in the morning show? Roseanne got fired over a joke. I do not understand this. She said, I do have an issue with some of the statements made by Brendan Carr. Because if there were an FCC commissioner on the other side of the political spectrum, from someone maybe on this network, and they didn't like their speech, would they put pressure on some of the advertisers? And if someone from Fox moved down to Fox Broadcast, to some of the owned and operated stations there, that's the part of this that I do not like. So I made a list. It's not exhaustive. I'm going to read it for you. And I believe that Phil and all of you may be able to chime in. But let me just start with this. I tweeted, liberals and Democrats used the government to push for censorship of their political rivals, arrested their political rivals, got prominent comedians and personalities fired from their jobs, advocated death for children standing still in D.C. Remember that one? Falsely charged their political rival with fraud despite the alleged victims denying they were victimized. Created special laws so people could sue and target their political rival. Created a network of false information to smear their rival as a traitor. Maliciously prosecuted the frontrunner for their rival party using fake charges with no underlying crimes. Arrested the arrested rival politicians' lawyers for representing the politician. Arrested teenagers for driving cars over sacred symbols. Arrested people for burning their sacred flags. Murdered Trump supporters and celebrated it. Aaron Danielson, Charlie Kirk, just two off the top of my head. There was also all of the people who died during the BLM riots. There was also the person who was shot in Provo, Utah. There's also...
Wayfair presents bedroom furniture. Find your dream bed at your dream price. Plus, save on beds that store and make room for one more. Shop bedroom furniture for way less at Wayfair.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
They made lists of the next targets to kill.
Yeah.
You know what? You get it. I say, we have learned. There is no more, but when they take power, they killed Charlie. There's literally nowhere else they can go. If they win, we know what they're willing to do, and killing us is already something they've done.
I mean, there was that program Arctic Frost that the FBI was using to target conservative.
Oh, there's another one, including Charlie Kirk.
Just this, undisclosed in the past couple days. This is not a situation where you can say, oh well, if the right does it, then the left will do it when they get in power. They're going to do it when they get back in power, anyways. We are literally living in a banana republic now. Don't kid yourself. This is not like.
It's not exhaustive. I'm going to read it for you. False laws. Mere for people who died. Aaron Danielson, Charlie Kirk. Murdered Trump supporters. Arrested people for... arrested rival line crimes. Arrested the political lawyers. Fraud despite the alleged victims denying they were victimized. Created special laws. Their political rivals. Got prominent comedians and personalities there. That's the part of this that I do not like. So I made a list. It's not exhaustive. I'm going to read it.
Do it when they get back in power, anyways. It's. We are literally living in a banana republic now. Don't kid yourself. This is not like stuff that happens in South America with basket case governments. This is happening in the United States right now.
Holy fuck!
The left's gonna do it if they get back in power, so you shouldn't do it.
What is wrong with
They're
you,
gonna
bro?
do it anyway.
What's wrong
It's
with
the reality of 2025.
It's going to be worse than that. And I'll add another one. They falsely accused independent media personalities of being paid money to spread Russian propaganda, despite the fact that the content we produce in the Culture War and the content Dave Rubin produced were often apolitical and nothing to do with politics at all. So, in what way are Dave Rubin's reactions to funny viral videos like America's Funniest Home Video in any way spreading propaganda? When the Culture War show, you know what we're doing tomorrow? Exorcisms. Because the Culture War is about culture, not politics. Sometimes politics is involved, but typically it's not. And they lied. And a month after they announced that case, they dropped it. They dropped it. And this was in December under Biden. It was fake the whole time. And then in April, they totally just basically killed the case. Lauren Chen issued a statement about it. Now, that one's personal. And I have no problem adding it to the mix because I believe it was totally fake from the get-go. And that's, so for those that don't know the story, in December of last year, I was begging my lawyers to get them to push this through and go public as heavy as they can. And we were instructed by the feds, they no longer had any interest in the case, and it was basically over. And I received my final bill, my final invoice. And I said, no. I said, what can I do to keep this going? So you can't. The DOJ issued the indictment. They have no evidence. They've dropped it. So what was this thing? What they are going to do, if they win, is so much worse than just this stupid idea of, but maybe they'll censor you. Already did that. And not only did they already censor, but Michael Reinoehl shot and killed Aaron Danielson. And you know what Crowder told me today, which is fascinating? When The Economist put out that who's more responsible for political violence, that's not included as left-wing extremism. BLM riots, which resulted in around either 26 to 32 deaths, do not count as political deaths. They are lying. And so, hearing this, I'm just so sick of this argument. If the Democrats win the midterms, Trump will be impeached. He will never there will never be legislation put through. As bad as Mike Johnson is, that everyone complains about, Democrats will do substantially worse because Republicans aren't willing to. To be fair, I'm going to say this. There's another story that maybe we'll get to in a bit, that 48 of Trump's appointees have been confirmed in a single vote, which I don't think has it ever happened before?
No.
48 political appointees got confirmed in a single swipe of a pen. 51 to 40, I think the vote was. With Trump saying he's going to name Antifa a terrorist organization, with already criminal charges being sought among people like Letitia James and Adam Schiff, I would not be surprised if by next week we actually see arrests, political arrests.
I would like to.
I mean, the pace at which we are seeing action this past week following the killing of Charlie Kirk, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Anyone who is advising Trump from a lizard brain setting, well, let me start by saying, with all due respect to Charlie Kirk, a good man, an honorable man who fought, there is a political reality that people don't want to discuss. And I am telling you, I am sure behind the scenes, an advisor to Trump said, with the death of Charlie Kirk, you effectively have carte blanche. You can do whatever you want because they killed Charlie. That is the cold lizard reality of what just happened. And I think when you see the moves that are being made, Jimmy Kimmel getting pulled off the air, people getting fired from their jobs, the American people do not have the tolerance for this degree of political violence. And the liberals are arguing that Trump is exploiting this for the purpose of expanding security state or whatever it is he's doing. I think it's fair to say that there are advisors telling Trump, if you're going to do it, you got to do it now.
Well, it's got to be. He's only got, he had 24 months. The clock is running. And that was the mistake of the first term, was slow rolling it. Oh, we'll get to it later. And then you get annihilated in the midterms, which is predictable even in the best circumstance. I mean, he's got to take action. If it was stuff that he promised, or if they're things that he fundamentally wants to do to change the way Washington operates, there's a very limited window. And let's be honest, I'll get through my election in November. We'll start up again in January. And then what? Everybody gets cold feet by about April or May, because then every member of the Congress has to go out and campaign, and they don't want anything too controversial that'll screw up their race. So everything kind of stops in D.C. about April, maybe May of next year.
Given,
That's it.
given the current political climate, do you fear for your safety at all as a Republican candidate?
There's nothing new. What's happened with Charlie Kirk is it made a lot of people pay attention. But the day I got the nomination, there was a guy, I was live streaming a press conference talking about my opponent, and there were people putting comments on the live stream, you deserve a bullet in your head. And I took it to the cops. They said, okay, we'll archive that. Nobody did anything about it. So I hate to admit this, but this is nothing new. Now, am I worried about it? This weekend, I'm going to be campaigning without security all over the state. And I'm 6'3". Normally people don't mess with me, but you want to blow somebody away, that doesn't matter. Yeah.
So you went to the authorities and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll look into it."
Well, what does this actually mean? And can we identify this person?
That's why we also cannot rely on the authorities to take action on these things. And that's why I'm so glad that whoever these anonymous people are that started the Charlie Kirk Data Foundation are doing important work on archiving this information. They're not doxing anyone. Nobody is advocating for cruelty to people on the left.
I'm not saying kill that guy.
Yeah, we don't want to meet their cruelty with cruelty. We just want justice.
I want to see people arrested so that way they're not a threat to society.
Indeed, people who are advocating or inciting violence should be charged for it. Yeah. And my attitude right now is, 5 years ago, if someone said, someone rid me of this priest, I'd say, yeah, we get it. Today, if someone says it, I say, charge him.
Andy, no. I brought him to Richmond.
Shit in the bag, dog.
This group that I found.
Yep.
Right? I knew it'd be somewhat controversial.
Dog, what are you gonna
really nice private club. Antifa harassed the club.
Toilets that are uncomfortable.
Calls, it scared them. We moved to a hotel.
Oh.
Same thing happened. We kept it secret.
How are they supposed to make a toilet, huh?
Antifa went all over the hotel, made the front desk clerks cry, said we're going to murder and slaughter everybody who steps into the hotel. We got booted. We finally
uncomfortable, man. Isn't it uncomfortable squatting down to shit in a bag?
Notice of where it was going to be, and had to have snipers in the parking lot. And there was
Nice.
a guy who was identified as posting minimally provocative stuff, like a guy carrying a
So when you wipe, you fucking throw the toilet paper on the bag too.
They let that
prosecutor
in my home county
Sometimes.
let it slide for about a month and then dismiss the charges.
Well, sometimes
when are you going to make an example of people to say you can't?
What do you mean sometimes? You mean sometimes you wipe
this is okay to
bag?
intimidate people?
You know that they're planning on protesting Charlie's funeral.
Your mic cut out.
Oh, disgusting, but I'm sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Disgusting, but that will do.
Fucking faggot can't fucking hear.
Because the optics of protesting a
Faggot can't even
funeral
speak.
of a man that was murdered is going to do more damage to the Democrat Party than Destiny did.
Well, that's like Westboro Church.
And you know what? If they had considered that, they would not have this. So I'll keep it light, but should they have considered that after this lunatic liberal shot and murdered Charlie, they would not have posted to social media celebrating the death, dancing on his grave. They don't care what you think. And I think the issue is, for the past 15 or so years, liberals ruled through fear and blunt and brute force. Most people don't agree that men are women or whatever, or children should get sex changes, but they were terrified that if they said anything, they would not only get fired from their jobs, they could be beaten for it. So they kept their mouths shut. And liberals and leftists, with impunity, could say whatever they wanted because they were willing to be violent, and police wouldn't do anything about it.
And they got used to it.
And now...
the arrogance is out of control.
And now, exactly. Now that Trump is in office, and people are feeling more comfortable calling it out, they went on social media and celebrated, and the backlash was intense. And now Jimmy Kimmel has lost his job. And they're starting to learn we don't tolerate it. No one should have ever tolerated it. But finally, people are waking up saying no, and Donald Trump is more empowered now. Not just him, but law enforcement to shut this down. A really great example. When that guy trampled the memorial, I think it was in Arizona, I'm not sure. And a bunch of supporters of Charlie Kirk grabbed him and threw him down. 5 years ago, those guys would have been arrested.
You're right.
They arrested the guy who trampled the memorial because the police know who butters their bread now.
Yeah, good. That's the perfect example of how the tables have turned. The attitude has changed. our side's not going to sit quiet, and I think the cops do realize who's on their side and who's not. And to your point about doing protesting Charlie's funeral, doing damage to the left, I would use the example of how the Westboro Baptist Church guys went and protested gay people who died of AIDS and interrupted funerals, where a decent person would say, no matter what I think of you, no matter how much I dislike you or have a problem with you, bury your dead, and we're not going to interrupt you. I mean, that's just kind of a decent way to live.
Are you familiar with the Christmas truce? Famous.
Yeah.
World War I think it was.
Right.
That on Christmas, they laid down their arms and they drank hot cocoa and tea or whatever and celebrated Christmas. Enemies, and then with
next
honor,
day
went back to the trenches. It's just so ridiculous. It's crazy.
And all that's been lost. That's what the left has done to this culture. People used to disagree. I mean, it probably wasn't as divergent. Well, we didn't have the divergent opinions as extreme as they are today, but at least people agreed on the way we generally treat each other. Like somebody, I mean, I wasn't around when Robert Kennedy was killed. I wasn't around when JFK was killed. I wasn't around when MLK was killed. But I'm guessing that if you had something really nasty to say about any of those killings, you probably would have said it in your house privately and not. And maybe someone will prove me wrong and pull up the archives and they'll be able to prove that that's not true. But
let's jump to this next story. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has accused Ilhan Omar of immigration fraud. Now, he didn't explicitly say he was going to take any action, but following this post on Truth Social, many people on X are saying Trump has fired the first salvo in stripping her of citizenship and deporting her. Maybe. We will see if it has but let me read what he said. Trump says Ilhan Omar's country of Somalia is plagued by a lack of central government control, persistent poverty, hunger, resurgent terrorism,
faggotism playing Mass Effect.
and pervasive violence.
Fucking piece of shit
70%
doesn't
of the
work.
population lives in extreme poverty and widespread food insecurity. Somalia is consistently ranked among the world's most corrupt countries, including bribery,
Fucking faggot doesn't want to play
embezzlement,
the game while I'm
and
getting him
dysfunctional
rails. What a
All
fucking
of
piece of shit.
Ilhan Omar tells us how to run America. P.S. Wasn't she the one that married her brother in order to gain citizenship?
That faggot only got 35 rails, acting like he got me fucking 10 million. Fucking loser.
Fucking dumbass.
Now,
So
I will
shit,
highlight
faggot.
this article from the Minnesota Star Tribune. For those unfamiliar, this is not a conservative newspaper. And they reported in 2019, new documents revisit questions about Rep. Ilhan Omar's marriage history. Although she has legally corrected the discrepancy, she has declined to say anything about how or why it happened. New investigative documents released by a state agency have given fresh life. Lingering questions about the marital history of Rep. Ilhan Omar and whether she once married a man, possibly her own brother, to skirt immigration laws. She's denied these as baseless rumors, but even the Star Tribune says she possibly married her own brother. Why would Donald Trump make this post, saying it's her country of Somalia? Didn't she skirt immigration laws? I think it's a reasonable assessment that Donald Trump may make a move to strip her of citizenship, revoke, and deport.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it comes out, there should be an investigation, and if it comes out that she did violate the law, no one is above the law. She broke the law. Send her back. I don't care that she's been elected. She has broken the law to attain citizenship, so...
Let's put it like this. If someone defrauds you and tricks their way into, living in your basement, like they give you fake documents, or let's say you have a 3-flat, we'll just make it easier, and you're renting out the first floor as a single unit apartment, and they lie on all the documents so they can do it, claim they have a job when they don't, should you be forced to just let them stay, or should you say, hey, you defrauded me? I don't buy this argument that, they would say like, well, it's pretty dangerous. She was elected, so what? I agree with Phil. If it turns out she defrauded the U.S. government for immigration, then her election is void. That's it. Goodbye.
You're not a citizen. You shouldn't. You weren't eligible to be a citizen.
Well, I think in her instance, that with the way Trump's framing it, the rumor, or I should say the reporting actually, is that she married her brother so her brother would be granted citizenship.
I see.
However, if she commits immigration fraud, that does subject her to revocation of her immigration status. That citizenship can be revoked if you are someone who is naturalized.
Yeah.
How far are we going with this?
Well, I mean,
all the way.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you've broken immigration law, you know,
It's like everything else. At some point, you got to be tough on whether you're going to allow violence, whether you're going to excuse murder, whether you're going to allow people to break the law. I mean, the problem is we spent 30 years just letting things slide, on immigration especially, just letting everything go. And now you've got chaos, and Trump is back to try to restore some order to that. And it's never going to be nice. It's like when the new teacher arrives and the class has been out of control, and the new teacher shows up and says, hell no, you're not going to act like this in my classroom. And everybody goes, what? That's Trump. He's cracking the whip and saying we are not going to allow this anymore. I think that's probably a good thing for us.
So I think it's worth mentioning that this truth is coming on the heels of a failed censure vote in the House that would have ultimately stripped Ilhan Omar of her House committee assignments. So she had 2 different House committee assignments. She had some comments about the death of Charlie Kirk, and some people viewed it as justifying it. So Representative Nancy Mace brought forward that censure vote that failed by 1 vote as a result of 4 Republican House members voting against it. So, I mean, this is the reason why Republicans always lose, because Corey Mills is sending out tweets justifying his vote to not censure Ilhan Omar, saying, we may not like or agree with someone with what someone says, but that does not mean we should deny their protected First Amendment right. House Republicans are afraid to wield power. Ilhan Omar is one of the most disgusting members of the House, and the fact that the Republicans weren't able to achieve this censure by 1 vote. Corey Mills is allegedly trying to avoid censure of his own from the Democrats, and this was kind of a quid pro quo, trying to like save the skin off of his back for alleged improprieties that were coming his way. So like this sort of dirty politics is what helps prevent these outrageous Democrats, these socialist far leftists in the House from being held to account. So I think Corey Mills has something serious to answer for. And like,
he wasn't the only Republican, right?
He was one of 3 other. There were 4 Republicans in total. But here's the thing: Corey Mills is a MAGA firebrand who should be voting to censure Ilhan Omar, but he's using the cover of free speech in the most BS and manipulative way. The issue with this free speech conversation, too, is that while Republicans and right-wingers are principled in their free speech, left-wingers are just willing to use it against them. They're not truly against doxing or getting people fired from their jobs. They're just against it when the right is willing to use it against the left. And it's just so sad how weak some of these Republicans in the House are. It seems whenever we get so close, well, it was only these 4 who really screwed up the vote. I could pull up the names, but it seems there is always a few that prevent them from getting this through. But he is the MAGA firebrand, right? Corey Mills from Florida. He is supposed to be the MAGA guy. And
so it's Corey Mills, Mike Flood, Jeff Hurd, and Tom McClintock.
So, this is why Ilhan will continue to have committee assignments. A far-left Islamist in the House will continue to have her House assignments, her committee assignments because of Corey Mills.
I'm confused.
Yes?
Why didn't Israel just get her removed?
I guess Israel's not giving enough money. AIPAC's not doing its work. They have their work cut out for
What's going on, brother?
Well, that's why I'm here now lobbying against Corey Mills. It's full circle.
Is that the best Israel have? They send somebody to go on Timcast IRL to lobby.
That's not even like a great guest, me. And if anything ever happened to you, just like how all this stuff around Charlie Kirk that Candace has going on, if anything happened to you, immediately it'll be Israel's fault.
That's why I have a picture of Elad looking around the corner, staring at me in a creepy way, and it's set to publish the next week. And every week I update it. That way, if anything does happen to me, it'll upload automatically, and then everyone will be like,
thinking ahead.
Tim did tell me if anything happened to him, I do get to inherit the show, and then we're changing it over to officially Jukast.
Whoa!
It won't be a joke anymore in that. But what the hell, Corey Mills?
Well, if he's counting on them to uphold their agreement, if your supposition is that the backroom deal to protect him, I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't count. These people do not honor agreements.
And then there was also LaMonica McIver or something from New Jersey where they were...
jail yet?
No, there was another deal there to prevent that censure from moving forward because of these such slim majorities.
You cannot exist as a nation when you cut political deals with people who break the law in this way. And we have done it for too long. And the argument is always, but we don't want to fight. And it goes back to, what was it? Was it 1876 when our president was chosen by committee and not by election? Which it was that ended Reconstruction. Basically, the fear was the Civil War was going to break out again. They couldn't figure out who was actually going to win, and so they compromised. A committee came together and said, let's just decide who the president's going to be. Then we'll all agree at the fight, right? Okay, so in exchange for this person being president, we'll end Reconstruction, and there we go. And from there, this is a country of, I know you broke the law, but if you agree not to come after me, I won't go after you. So at the highest level, you have DC, a swamp full of swamp monsters breaking the law and cutting backroom deals. You can't function this way. That McIver, she's the one who hit the cop, right? Punched the cop.
I see, Joe.
Why isn't she in jail? She punched the cop.
They're scared to prosecute her.
Yeah, well, that's when regular people can watch a politician punch a cop and get away with it, they're gonna say, I guess laws are off then, huh? Then what do you think happens next?
Well, I mean, more of the same, more of what we've already got. It's going to intensify. I mean, I would love to see.
You gotta know that in your heart, you're gonna be a champion, and you're gonna be that guy holding the trophy. If horse racing teaches you anything, it's resiliency.
For them, it costs a lot. You get to see it for free.
I would love to see, some reconciliation. I would love to see the temperature cool off. 'Cause I don't want to see a hot civil war. But we've been taking steps towards that, for the past at least 5 years, 6 years.
It doesn't have to be a reconciliation. It just has to be an agreement that we're all going to obey the same laws. Like, I can't go into a museum that's hung a painting that I don't like, that offends me and my Christian beliefs, and throw red paint on it. And you can't go into the streets of Richmond, Virginia, and throw a rope around a Confederate statue that nobody voted to take down and drag it through the street just because you are offended by those statues. I mean, maybe you have a reason to be offended. That's on you, but we have to obey the law. And that's completely out the window.
I think that this period, which is devolving into Civil War, whatever happened, started. And you could make the argument that it's tied to the what was the act that allowed the mixing of investments? I'm brain farting. That's when the Dodd or whatever it was.
Dodd-Frank.
Dodd-Frank. There you go. I was gonna say Frank Dodd. I'm like, that's not right. Yeah. So some people argue like that's all policy stuff. 2007 was the groundswell political moment where people snapped, and it created a network of global crises that have never been solved. Notably, I was supposed to have a kid in 2008. Traditionally, I was about 22, 23 years old into 2009. That's the age at which people usually have kids. The financial crash happened, and I couldn't afford to do anything, so I didn't. And most millennials didn't, because we had no jobs. We were living together as roommates. That's what we could afford. There was no prospect of growth, and we didn't even know it was a problem. We didn't even know it was happening, because to us, the way I've often just explained it is, I was already at the bottom, so when the market collapsed, I didn't go anywhere. What people, what I and my cohorts didn't understand is that we were supposed to be growing in financial access, housing, etc., and then have kids around that time. Without kids, you get a bunch of angry, listless young men with no families and nothing to lose. You get a collapsing economy. You get political crisis after political crisis. Then you got the Tea Party. You got Occupy Wall Street, which turned into Donald Trump, which turned into the Russiagate era. If you go back to 2007, since then, it's pretty wild to think about. When I imagine what life was like in 2013, 14, I don't know, I'm going to see Marvel movies, skateboarding, things don't seem that bad. But when you look back at a condensed history, the way we look at, say, the World War I and II era, the Civil War era, the Revolutionary War, the condensation of history makes it look pretty startling. In 2007, the global financial crisis hits. People lose their jobs. People's savings are wiped out. Young people don't get a start on life. This leads to anger over these bailouts for these big, ultra-rich fat cats, and the people on the ground experienced what corruption led to. Then you get the Tea Party, angry that the representatives were not actually dealing with the problem. You get the Tea Party groundswell on the Republican side. Then you get Occupy Wall Street in 2011, where more urban-centered people were saying the exact same thing. Barack Obama was not solving these problems. He was giving big bailouts to banks and big companies and CEOs, and we got the shaft. We paid the bills. We faced inflation. Obama didn't solve the problem. He got reelected. He didn't solve the problem. What did we get? Nothing. So what happens? Trump begins to emerge. The sentiment that led to Donald Trump was bubbling up during Occupy Wall Street. A combination of cultural issues and populist outcry led to Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, and the machine state panicked. So they did whatever they did to Bernie Sanders, whatever that was. And then Donald Trump wasn't supposed to win. He ended up winning. How did they respond? They accused him of being a traitor, claimed he was a traitor to this country, probably going back years and decades, and tried to put him in prison, tried to destroy his life, cemented his feet in his first administration.
Bullshit.
So he couldn't really move. And then you move into the Biden era. You get Arctic frost targeting conservative organizations, and like, don't get me wrong, like, you know, you had Obama going after Tea Party groups and other conservatives with the IRS and things like that. All of this stuff is a catastrophe bubbling up and escalating, going back to around 2007. I don't buy the arguments people make. Well, Bush did this. No. The machine state foreign war stuff was totally par for the course for this country for the past 50, 60 years. The military-industrial complex. 2007 is where things got weird, and it's also the time of social media. All of this is the collapse of our system, and it's come to this moment. It's been getting worse, and I don't see any of this turning around, to be honest.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't see it either. That's one of the things that we are constantly talking about. Where's the off-ramp? How do we fix this? And the more you listen to people on the left, the more you realize that they don't, like, a week ago when Charlie was killed, that changed everything in this country, because people saw, like normal people and conservatives saw the vitriol about someone that was not actually a politician, right? He just was out there, he was an activist, but he was just out there expressing his beliefs, and he was trying to discuss these things with people that disagreed.
Here's a story for you guys from CBS News. 22-year-old man charged with threatening to kill New Hampshire Governor Kelly Ayotte. How do you pronounce that? Ayotte?
Yeah. Ayotte.
Ayotte?
Ayotte.
You live there, not me.
Ayotte.
A 22-year-old man is in custody after police say threatened to kill New Hampshire Governor Kelly Ayotte. Tristan Anderson of Hooksett, New Hampshire, is charged with criminal threatening and harm or threats to certain government officials. A criminal complaint against Anderson released Thursday alleges that he didn't knowingly threaten to commit the crime of homicide and or assault against Governor Kelly Ayotte, the current governor of the state of New Hampshire, for the purpose of influencing such officials' actions or in retaliation for action taken as part of such government's official duties. He was allegedly messaging with a woman on Snapchat saying he was going to target the New Hampshire mayor, Kelly Ayotte, with my weapon of mass destruction. He had also made anti-Semitic remarks in the messages as well. The woman told police that Anderson owned guns and that he had made mention of making pipe bombs. Anderson allegedly had shown the woman metal tubes he was using to make the bombs, as well as nuts and bolts he was going to put in them. Police said Anderson had allegedly bought fireworks and taken them apart to create pipe bombs. He was arrested August 28th and remains in custody without bail, pending his next court appearance. Ayotte is a Republican who previously senator, defeated the Democrat. They reached out to Ayotte's office for comment. His arrest happened before the murder of Charlie Kirk, but was revealed during a heated national debate about political violence. If every policy that is being promoted by your right is an existential threat and a catastrophe in the end of the republic, that further intensifies this kind of emotional stress. It sounds like what they are saying from this story is that this was a politically motivated death threat or threat against the governor because he did not like what
Yeah, I mean,
what is happening that yesterday several cops are shot, ICE agents are nearly getting run over and then shoot and kill the people. Like, these stories are almost every single day now, if not every single day. And the scary thing is, the desensitization to them. There's another longer story that I will attach to this one because we don't have the full details. Tony Gonzalez staffer, death under investigation. Her body was on fire. I don't want to die, she told her mother who found her. They don't say what happened. They say they're not suspect. Told her mother who found her. They don't say what. I don't want to die.
Holy shit,
Taken as part of such
brother.
government's official duties. He was elected. I don't want to die, she told her mother who found her. They don't say what happened. They say they're not suspecting foul play, but it is currently under investigation.
Dude,
so I am
what the
very
fuck
curious
is wrong with this
how a
faggot
Republican
game, man?
staffer was found immolated, saying I don't want to die, and they're
It's very you know who's running against him, by the way?
Who is it?
Brandon Herrera.
Interesting.
Yeah, totally. On the heels of this, does that make you reconsider your security arrangements? That's very odd. Do you know who's running against him, by the way?
Who is it?
Brandon Herrera.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, totally. On the heels of this story, does that make you reconsider your security arrangements while campaigning?
I mean, I don't have any option. I don't have any money, man. You know, I mean, I guess if I could go higher, I've got a couple of guys who said I'll go out with you and shadow you and try to help you if something happens. I appreciate that, but it's who wants to live like that? I'm not running for president of the United States. I'm running for lieutenant governor of Virginia. I shouldn't have to have 24-hour security. I should be able to get in the car like I did to come see you guys and not worry about it. I'm just not going to live that way, and I'm going to be careful. But I mean, it's crazy. And you know what the problem is? Yes, these stories are happening every day. But if you go back to 2020, people thought I was overreacting on my radio show. I was like, why are we not shutting this down? We've got cops being ambushed and assassinated in Dallas, I think, when the BLM Antifa riots first started. We had the police in Richmond, Virginia, went into their precinct. Nobody even reported on it. They didn't even bother. They set the building on fire with the cops inside. People have not been prosecuted. The United Daughters of the Confederacy Museum and Library in Richmond. I mean, maybe you hate the Confederacy, maybe you hate those little old ladies who run the... I don't know. But that was firebombed. And no one has ever been arrested or prosecuted. What signal does that send? It says we don't care. It says as a culture, we're willing to tolerate this. And we should hammer these people, regardless of whether they're on the right or the left. And we should also be honest that most of it is coming from the left. Most of it is coming from the left. And so you have an entire generation of people who've been raised to think, if I personally get spun up about something and hate something or hate somebody, then it's okay to go after them. And that's on us as a society. And the leaders who've been in place who haven't had the guts because they were afraid they'd be called a racist, or they're afraid they'd be called a homophobe, or they were afraid of being called a name, they didn't stand up and hammer these bad guys.
So
now we're all suffering.
I know you have a race coming up. I don't know if you wanted to touch on it a little bit. Early voting starts tomorrow. Why should people in Virginia vote for you?
Well, what I just said. I think I'm one of the few people over the last several years who's, in Virginia at least, who's had the guts to say what needs to be said and not be worried about being called names. I've been called names my whole life. You're not gonna upset me with that, and you're not gonna back me down from that. And I think, it's not like I'm proposing anything that's outrageous or unusual. It's called obey the law. And I don't think we have draconian, crazy laws in Virginia, certainly, and I don't even think in the United States we have crazy laws. Just obey the law. And those laws are based on treating everybody with some basic level of respect, not harming the other person. We've lost it all.
Let me ask, I understand no matter what happens in your race, people are going to view it as a bellwether about what's going on in the country, and people...
Well, I've reminded the people in D.C. about that. Yeah, November 5th, whatever happens in Virginia and New Jersey will be discussed as a harbinger for what Trump's given.
Viewed as a referendum on the president. What do you think of the president? If you had to give him a grade, what would you give him? How he's governing?
Well, I voted for Trump 3 times. I don't regret that. He's a controversial guy. I don't even argue with people when they want to bring up his personality. I'm like, I'm not debating his personality. I will discuss the policies, and I do think he's implementing policies that will put us, I pray to God, in a better situation. No one wants to talk about being $37 trillion in debt. Look at Greece, look at Italy, look at other countries filled with smart people. They have had economic collapses that have burdened the citizens because they just didn't rein in their spending and their financial obligations. And I think Trump is the first person to step up and try to do that. Now, there's pain associated with it. It's a bad situation. It doesn't feel good. But nobody can run a government making everybody feel good. You have to make some tough decisions.
I know one of his biggest initiatives has been on immigration. He's quadrupled the funding towards ICE. Do you support what he's doing across the country? I think reaching for 1 million deportations a year of illegal aliens here.
We all have to obey the law. We all have to obey the law. So if you're here, it's not like this just came up yesterday. We've been talking about it for a decade or more. When I worked in the Senate, 2004, 2005, 2006, we were talking about whether we could secure the southern border. For God's sake, no one pulled it off until Trump arrived. Now, there are consequences. I have friends who are here illegally, and I said, man, here's the name of a lawyer. He's a Democrat, not even a Republican. He will help you get your paperwork straight. But if you sit around and don't do it, you're going to be booted out of the country. Do you understand that? And a lot of people blew me off and said, I don't think so. Everything's cool. No, it's not. You've got to obey the law. We all have to obey the law.
I know your neighbors to the north in Maryland, they're having this issue with the so-called Maryland man that all the Democrats seem to be going to visit, Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Have you heard about that case? What people say Trump is overstepping there. Do you think the president is overstepping?
It's not overstepping. It's not overstepping at all. Look, there should be one day where we say, are you documented? Have you taken care of the responsibilities you have? And if the answer is no, I'm so sorry. I'm a nice guy. I don't like to hurt people, but you're going to have to go. And when I lived in Kuwait, for God's sake, I was the head of international development for a firm. They put me in Kuwait. I think, if I remember correctly, my visa was for 60 days, my work visa. You can bet I was out of there on day 58 because I wasn't going to let anybody in that country claim that I was missing the deadline. So I left on the 58th day and then stayed away for a week and then came back. That was my obligation. And look, everybody's going to obey the law. And if you've ever traveled around the world, you know that the rest of the world is not very nice about it.
One of the ways that you would be a trailblazer if elected is that you would be the first openly gay lieutenant governor, I believe, across the country. Can you talk a little
elected, statewide elected official in Virginia, and no Republican who's gay has ever been elected statewide, ever. Democrats have been doing it.
Are Virginian Republicans ready for a gay lieutenant governor?
I think they are ready for a solid conservative, and that's me.
Who are you? I'm Dexter. Everyone's raving about the killer new hit, Dexter Resurrection. There's more where that came from.
They were undercutting American wages, and then you had like yoga instructors listed for H-1B.
It was just instructors.
Yeah, it was a major company. They had a yoga instructor listed.
To be fair, you probably should get some money for that. Otherwise, it's cultural appropriation.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't want to be racist.
Cultural appropriation is good.
Yeah, it was just madness. So
opponents of the H-1B program make this really bad argument that it's totally dishonest, that it's about scooping up the best talent from around the world and bringing people in. We have other visas that do that for, like, the brilliant mathematician and whatever else. The H-1B program is a program almost explicitly designed to undercut American wages and particularly in the tech role, but as we've seen with some of these job postings, yeah, it's all across the board.
Tim had actually done some digging the other day, and it's not just the H-1B visas. There are multiple visas that are basically
the O1.
Well, the O1 is a good one, but that are basically useless. Basically, just some excuse to bring in a worker that to give them a job that could be filled by an American. So I think the H1 getting rid of making the H-1B financially unrewarding for people is a good start. But I think that's just it. It's just a start. Like, there's no reason to import workers to do jobs that Americans can do.
Yeah, and there's also like an 85,000 job cap supposedly on it. So it's like if the argument is we're bringing in high-skilled applicants, and then they use a lottery system to decide who's actually getting these visas, then it totally kills the point of if it was high school in the first place. And then once you dig a little bit, you realize this is even high school. This is just like a jobs program.
If you get really good at yoga, do you know how to breathe fire? My only exposure to yoga is passively watching rom-coms and Street Fighter 2.
My girlfriend does like pregnant yoga.
Oh,
so that's
no fire breathing.
No fire
Sounds
breathing.
dangerous for a pregnant woman.
She's not. I don't think so. I think it's safe. So,
okay, good.
But I mean, another thing about the H-1B visas, when someone gets an H-1B visa, a lot of times their residency is connected to having a job, so it turns them into basically an indentured slave, or indentured servant. So the company can do things like, oh, you have to work this weekend, and then if they're like, no, I don't want to, it's like, well, maybe you do want to because you want to stay here, and it really, it becomes a tool of coercion by a company to tell a worker. Or to
American workers, they're so entitled. They want these things called raises, and maybe they want to take breaks and vacations and things like that. But you can pluck a guy out of some war-torn, third world village, and he's not going to ask for any of that.
Yeah, I actually figured it out here at Timcast. We don't give raises. You get an annual pay decrease, and if you're really good, we'll keep your salary at the same level. So everyone's really fighting real hard.
Oh well, yeah. You can't even get a smoke break anymore because of these H-1Bs. Now it's a Zen break. What's going on?
And you get the Zen you have to do while you're here.
Yeah, it's getting crazy out here.
Doesn't Tucker Carlson have his own brand of Zins?
Alp does. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
They come damp. It's a little wild.
Is that bad?
Well, I don't want. It feels like it's been sucked on.
Oh, that's weird.
Like it's
pause.
It never occurred to me.
Open a thing of gum.
Someone else already used it or something.
That's
precisely, yeah.
That's a good idea. Like we should sell gum where when you open it up, it looks like gum with bite marks in it, and
as far as
a little wet.
He sucked on. It's like what he's really doing is he's getting all of his friends that use it.
It's all these H-1Bs.
Give them to him, and he just resells them.
Yeah, it's these
H-1Bs. Spit them out and throw them in a thing and repackage them.
He's like, I'm gonna make millions.
Does he actually use them? He sticks them in his mouth.
Oh yeah.
So weird. It doesn't make your gums rot and your teeth fall out.
No.
Eventually.
No. Well, actually,
not according to RFK.
So, I've done a little reading on it, and as far as I know, the nicotine pouches and stuff like that, they're not a carcinogen. They don't rot your gums. They don't, because nicotine itself isn't a carcinogen. It's all the other stuff that usually comes along.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a heavy Zen user though, and I did feel like the wall of my gum getting thinner and thinner.
Are you sure about that, or are you just neurotic?
You stop doing it?
It restricts your.
Yeah,
it's a vasoconstrictor, nicotine, so it might be restricted. But you're right that it's not like.
It's definitely
cancerous.
The healthiest way to use nicotine, which
Yes.
in and of itself is harmless.
It's not the most awesome. I tell you what, I miss Marlboros like a madman.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same gravitas as smoking.
There's no
it's better
aura.
than vaping though. It's better than vaping.
Way more aura than vaping.
More aura than
Sucking
vaping.
on Robot D.
Yeah.
I hear you're supposed to jog while you Zin, and then what happens is your body starts conflating the Zin nicotine with jogging, and you'll be like, I gotta go for a run, man, and you'll get super fit.
That's probably
It's not a bad idea.
But you can use Zen if you're really trying to get into a habit. You can use it as like a reward, so then you're addicted to the habit because you get Zen doing
That's it.
It's genius.
What?
It's just addicted to Zen, but
It definitely
Yeah,
addicted to
but
nicotine.
you trick your body by engaging in that routine behavior, and then
have love.
I mean, just talking about this, I can't wait to get home. I want to smoke a cigar.
Well, that's what they're saying. It's like some dating advice. I don't know if this is legal, but you can put a nicotine pouch on the person that you want to date. I'm just saying.
Probably not legal.
Probably not legal. This is not advice.
Hey, that'll break the
Saying it's a
restraining
thing.
order, bro. Come
People
on.
have been doing this. H-1Bs have been doing this apparently. Yeah. But
the camera go out.
Maybe it's on. That's what I thought it was. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
But,
Anyway, we were talking about not letting people into the country.
yeah, well, that's the thing is it does feel the H-1Bs because the green card process takes so long that they just become a total indentured servant. And that's the pitch people are making most often. But I'm also like, yeah, but this just harms Americans. Like, that sucks for them, but it's probably better than being in India.
But people don't realize that a lot of these, when you go to like a Chinese nail salon and stuff like that, when you go to places where it's very clearly all immigrant workers and it's a trend, these people are all slaves.
Right.
Like, I don't draw a distinction between indentured servant and slave. I mean, maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic, but you'll go to like a Chinese food restaurant, everybody working there is Asian. What they do is the company will sponsor somebody, or someone will sponsor somebody, and they'll say, we'll bring you over here, it's going to cost 20 grand and you're going to work until you pay it off. But it's ridiculously difficult to pay off when they're paying you $3 an hour or whatever. And then you're getting
chargebacks.
You're getting paid properly, but you have no control of the money because your contract deal is in a different country. This is kind of like when we saw the Chinese police stations in North America. We can say you can't do that here, but they can hold contracts in other countries while they're here.
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah, and it's a good argument against mass immigration because it shows when you have like the mass transfer of people from one country to ours, that like there's still that connection back to their country, and in a lot of ways, you know, it could be secret, you know, CCP police, it could be weird labor stuff going on. It builds a connection that you might not want to have, and I would say we shouldn't have.
Someone just checked the H1B Reddit, so I did.
Oh, they're crashing out right now.
Oh, dude, it is crazy. They've never had more activity on their subreddit than now. It's official. Executive order just signed about the $100,000 fee. Look at this. Administration reviewing. Oh, that's from a month ago. 55 million holders for violations. RIP H1B program. Let's go. Look at this. In 2025, the total number of H1Bs was roughly 730,000, which is less than 0.5 of the total U.S. workforce of over 170 million. Rest in peace. I'm telling you, people were saying, like I said, the title of the video is Trump just ended the H1B program because it is an effective termination. And there are people being like, no, we did it, still there, bro. I'm telling you, it is cooked, right? Ain't nobody's gonna bring on some $30,000 a year ice cream store manager now when they gotta pay $130,000 for it.
It also raised the wage floor for the H-1Bs from like 60K to 150K. So you have to pay these people way more, which obviously, you know, if these are the best and brightest from around the world, then there shouldn't be a problem there. But obviously, that's not what the program is.
It re-incentivizes American hiring. Exactly.
And it replaced the lottery dynamic of the H-1B with kind of a highest bidder thing. So it's a great policy. And I just want to point out that there have been people claiming for like a year now that Donald Trump was going to like massively expand the H-1B program. There was some viral post like a few days ago, and all of these people are just totally wrong. These people that just lie about Trump all the time.
So apparently it gets better. It's not $100,000 for the visa. It's $100,000 every year.
Good.
Yearly fee.
Yeah, it's a yearly fee. Yo, I like.
Omega cunt.
Look at this, $100,000 per year, as good as
Shut
canceling
your
H1B.
fucking
faggot won't play Mass Effect.
Not worth it even for those who make $200,000.
Why is there an H1B visa Reddit page? What's the
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
It's people from around the world trying to get into our country using this program, and they're talking about how maybe not gaming the system, probably a bit of that, but how you can make sure your application gets approved.
I guess the follow-up question to that is, does ICE know that there's an H1B
It's a free game.
Yeah, right. You know,
well,
people are violating the law.
H1Bers in disarray, Panickin's in disarray, Jimmy Kimmel's in disarray. This is great.
Now, for the rest of us Americans, but wait, there's more. From NBC News, tear gas used on protesters at Chicago area ICE site as immigration crackdown escalates. Federal officers in camouflage and riot gear clashed as demonstrators blocked vehicles in protest of Trump's expanding enforcement sweep. Well, I do believe we have video. Wait, where did I put that video?
Get the spicy smoke.
Where's that video we have? I don't know where. Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's in the back for some reason. Whoop. Here you go. Here's Kat Abugazela getting shoved. And then she slips. Shame. So I got a question about this, right? Why do
so
we
funny,
tolerate
dog.
a bunch of people scream?
I'll show you.
And then she slips. Oh.
You see it? Nice.
Shame.
Fucking nice. Dude.
So I got a question about this, right? Why do we tolerate a bunch of people screaming and blocking and obstructing law enforcement?
That guy didn't.
I know, but like, there's a video of a guy like shaking his butt.
Yeah,
cops being like, shoot me, and I'm like, why don't you just arrest him? Honest question. I understand peaceable assembly, and the idea there would be these people would be outside of the facility holding signs chanting, not confronting and fighting with cops to where the cops need to be armed. The moment they step up and start physically obstructing, it's a riot, arrest them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Impeding federal law enforcement is absolutely a crime, and I think the administration's trying to be pretty, even-handed with this. But I think there were some politicians up in Boston, who were arrested. So they are making some arrests. I want to point out that Kat here is running for Congress, so she thinks it's a good idea to be seen impeding federal law enforcement. And that really just shows where the left is at this point. They haven't mellowed out, not at all. The mayor of, Evanston? I forget the guy's name, but he was seen on camera wearing a mask, blocking an ICE vehicle with the crowd. So the Democrats, it's not that they just believe in this. They think that this is good. They think that this is what their base wants. And if you're running for Congress in, Illinois? Then that probably is what the Democrats want there.
I mean, this kind of behavior does get clicks, and it gets young people on Instagram excited, and it gets young people to possibly even donate, but it doesn't get young people to the polls.
Yep.
Young people don't effing vote. And I mean, personally, I think that I don't want to say that I wish that it weren't true, but I think that it's a reality that people should acknowledge. Like, no matter how many people are on your Instagram Live, no matter how many people are watching your reels, no matter how many people click on your video of you getting manhandled by the police and tell you you're the best and how brave you are and give you all kinds of affirmations, that doesn't translate into getting kids to the polls.
I have a question for where this all goes with this Kat Gazela. If you go online and start espousing political beliefs that are favorable to a foreign nation, like let's say you make a channel that's just all about Japanese politics, and you're sitting there and you're screaming and you're yelling in konnichiwa or whatever, and Japanese people are watching your show and you're making millions of dollars. Then in America, with the millions of dollars you make, you announce you're running for Congress, and you use all that money to win your congressional race, and then start basically lobbying on behalf of Japan. And do we have an answer for when this happens? Because I feel like this is what we're seeing right now, actually. There are people who go on social media, they build a big following, but the following is going to be a lot of foreign individuals who have interests in the certain ideas they may be pushing. Then they're going to start running for office, and they're going to have a monetary base, not when they're running for office, because at that point you cut it off, but I think the story was that Hillary Clinton gave a speech before she announced she was running for office. She gave a speech to Goldman Sachs for like $250,000, and everyone's like, "We get it, okay? That's a campaign contribution, so long as it's a speaker fee. Nobody you can't legally do anything about it." What are we going to do when people build big followings of foreign, individuals? I'm not saying it's illicit. I'm saying somebody literally is like, "I'm very much interested in the politics of the Middle East." They build up a big following of Middle Eastern individuals. They have 1 million, 2 million followers. They start posting sponsorships and ads. They start making money off that. They make themselves millionaires. And then they say, I'm going to finance my own campaign with my money and win. But their interest is lobbying for a foreign country.
Yeah, it's a problem because I think most people would agree that that's definitely ethically questionable at the very least. But you're right that if done in that way, in that order, it wouldn't necessarily violate any campaign finance laws.
But our country's cooked.
Yeah, and the internet grows more third world every day, and we're seeing this play out with a lot of different narratives and sort of movements, and you're right. I hadn't actually considered that angle, but yeah, I would imagine we're going to feel the direct political ramifications of that more and more in the coming decades.
Well, I bring this up because Kat Abu Ghazala, I believe she is Palestinian.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think her dad is Palestinian, so she has a foreign interest. And fair point. I know everyone's going to bring it up. Israel, 100%. I'm not counting that out. There are people who have dual citizenships or other loyalties, and they will build up a base from people in foreign countries that will finance or fund them. Then later on, when they run for office, and to be fair, we can even exclude the run for office part. We are going to have prominent individuals lobbying on behalf of foreign countries in this country, because their audience is going to be composed of people from foreign countries. I think it's already happening.
It's already happening 100%.
And the H-1B thing, I think especially. And that's why many of us have been saying, you know, Elon needs to create a way to region lock so that we do not see views, comments, retweets, or posts from countries we don't want to. So like, let's say someone posts a tweet where they're like, you know, what's a good country that's obscure and no one cares about? I don't know. I'm not gonna. No matter what I say, someone's gonna have some problem with it. So they say some slogan for some country, and they get 1 million views on it. Some kid, 15-year-old, logs in and sees 1 million views on this post and thinks it's American views.
Right.
And they don't realize it's a bunch of like Eritreans cheering, woo!
Yeah.
And so they start replicating that content to pander to a foreign country in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're seeing like, the very small scale version, like with Elon Omar, where she basically has like an ethnic enclave behind her, ensuring election after election. And you see the way she's behaved just with that. I mean, she's still accountable to a large degree to the rest of the country. She is in the House of Representatives, but ultimately she's accountable to her district, and she rewards them. She advocates and lobbies for Somali interests in Congress. And so
Exactly.
And she openly
And she
does
says it.
too.
Oh, she's like literally will say it in Somali, and you're sitting here like, something's not adding up here.
Yeah, she's basically a representative from Somalia
Yeah.
to the United States.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that kind of stuff, I don't know what the solution is, how to prevent that, but that's something that should not happen. Like, we should not have a person in Congress that's essentially representing another country. Whether it doesn't matter if it's Somalia or any other country, like they should not be representing a foreign nation.
Well, and it's like the thing with Elon, it's like, okay, there's this push now to get her denaturalized and deported, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that'd be great. That would be a solution. But the problem is you're gonna have more and more people like her who actually are.
Alright, I'll be back.
Oh,
shit, she wasn't, but I'm saying is like, okay, you get her out, you're gonna have the same problem because there's gonna be another Somali, and this guy might have been born there. So.
You know what? I think that's a reality. I think let's start here. Someone's going to lobby on behalf of foreign interests. It's going to happen. And obviously Israel's a really great example. Like our members of Congress go over there all the time. There's too
Dual
much.
citizens. You know, there are a bunch of dual citizens, people that are citizens of Israel and citizens of the U.S. and they're in Congress. You know,
And that shouldn't be the case. And so that, yes, Ilhan Omar. Let's start here. She's not from here. She immigrated here, and okay, that's fine. Did she commit fraud?
Right.
Okay, and if the answer is yes, then we denaturalize and deport. I don't care if she won an election or otherwise, and that's true for anybody for any country. Sure.
I'm just saying, like, even if we get that done, it's like, that's great, and I agree that should be done. It's like, if you're going to kick the can, like, we got to address why there's so many Somalis in Minneapolis. Because all they're going to do is just elect another Ilhan Omar. And this time they'll, like, make sure she didn't marry her brother this time. So it's like, at a certain point, same thing with Zoran, like, same thing with Rashida Tlaib. You have to ask, why are there so many people in these districts or in these cities that are voting purely on ethnic interests? So...
Well, we brought in, many millions of people from all around the world that, believe it or not, don't buy into kind of Anglo-liberal individualism, and it's just an incredibly, tribalism is the norm outside of the West, and even just more specifically the Anglosphere. So, when you bring people over in small amounts, they generally will assimilate. When you bring people over in large amounts, they're less likely to assimilate. And when you consider what immigrants are assimilating to now, it could be, Black Lives Matter and liberalism just generally.
I'm getting, 1 second, I have a correction. I'm getting a text here. They're asking me to say, it is completely okay that we have members of Congress that travel to Israel. Pledge support for Israel. Thank you and have a nice day.
Man, that's weird. A lot didn't text me.
I'm kidding. I don't care what country it is.
A bunch of people in Pakistan watching the stream just got very mad. They're calling you Jewish on Twitter.
They do!
Yeah. Oh, I get it too. Yeah. Even on tweets that have nothing to do with Israel, I'm just like, I want less immigration, and someone's like Jew, and I look at their like location, like Bangladesh or something, and it's like, really? All right.
Yeah.
I guess that's what Jewish is.
I think, it's really funny too because Netanyahu issued a statement about how he did not kill Charlie Kirk. And this is like the weirdest timeline we're in.
Yeah.
And he said that, I think he accused Qatar. Is that who he accused? He said foreign nations are funding all this stuff.
The influence narratives, not the actual assassination.
No, yeah, the narratives.
Yeah.
Like, I think he.
I'm sure he did, and I'm sure Qatar has some level of online influence. Not just
everyone does.
Yeah, that's definitely the most realistic take on it.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild how Nick Fuentes came out as the voice of reason, saying like, guys, come on, like. Israel didn't kill him.
I never thought it wasn't Israel would be a sentence that I heard come out of Nick Fuentes' mouth. But I mean, look, it does actually. Look, there are people that are already saying Nick got the call. That's BS. But like, it does actually add to his like gives him a modicum of credibility, because you're like, all right, well, then this makes me believe that even if I disagree with him about his takes about Israel, he's honest about them. He really does believe these things, because he's saying this particular case I don't think is Israel. So like, if he were just a grifter that was grifting off of anti-Israel sentiment, because there's a lot of people globally that are really anti-Israel, and you can make a lot of money and get a lot of followers by being anti-Israel. And if he was actually just a grifter and didn't actually at least believe the things that he said, why wouldn't he say, well, of course Israel was going after Charlie Kirk? Well, of course, it would probably satisfy a large portion of his less attached to reality followers.
So you guys know how I met with Netanyahu earlier this year, a few months ago.
Yeah.
And it was Chatham House rules, meaning we're not supposed to reveal anybody who was there. Nick Fuentes was there. That was a joke. Anyway, moving on. Unfortunately now there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, that proves it! And they're going to start tweeting at him, and they're going to say he got the call, and Tim Pool claimed he was there, and I'm like, I'm literally joking. Nick was not there. Yeah.
Tim Pool outflanks everyone on the Israel issue.
I really do think that, a lot of people will frame all of it as like influence operations, manipulation. I think it's just real people. There are real people that live in other countries that watch content. Yeah. There's like, I watch content from a bunch of foreign people. They skateboard. There's a lot of Japanese content in skateboarding. So I'm watching a bunch of stuff on Instagram from Japanese people about Japan. And I'm like, look at that, whatever. And people in Japan have interest in the things we do here. So for politics, especially considering the United States is basically the top of the mountain, they're going to be watching all this political commentary. And English is the business language of the world. So a lot of these people speak to a certain degree English or will use translators. And now with like X, it's auto-translating. So you're going to get people from all over the world commenting, tweeting. We gotta be able to block that. I want to be able to go on X and be like, I only want to see America. You know, to be completely honest, I'd say Canada, the U.S., Mexico, and maybe Europe.
I mean, honestly, not that I know anything about the back end at X, but I mean, it seems like it wouldn't be particularly difficult to just say, these are the, select the countries. Here's a list of countries that I care about. I want to see tweets from these regions.
Because there's never been like I'm seeing like a really intellectual discourse going on. I'm like, you know what does someone from Pakistan think about this? It's never occurred to me once in my life.
You know, to be fair, I'm very concerned about what Malaysians think, but it's okay because I follow Ian Miles Chong.
Sure, he's on the case.
It just so happens that he reflects my opinion back at me quite often. You know?
Ian Miles Chong is very familiar with what America thinks and stuff, but I imagine he has no idea what.
But I got to imagine he lives like a king in Malaysia.
Probably, yeah.
Because he's producing content for Americans. It's very smart.
Yeah.
You know what? I got to be honest. There's something that's like a net negative. It's a neutral thing. We don't want foreign individuals to realize they can produce content to pander to us and get advertiser dollars off of it. But he's saying the right things. You know what I mean? So I'm like, sometimes. What's the GDP of Malaysia?
Well, also like
45 cents.
No one's got to be more crushed than him that the America Party thing's not happening.
I was gonna say, Ian Miles Chong is like generally on the right, but yeah, he sided with Elon's crash out. That Elon himself has like distanced himself from, to his credit. Yeah, credit where credit's due.
$13,000 is their GDP per capita.
Oh, he's raking it in, yeah.
Bro, I mean, what is it like 70,000 in the United States or something like that?
Yeah, give or take.
68, I think. Let me check United States. United States GDP. Because if you're making good influencer money with hundreds of thousands of followers, it is 89,000. That's inflation for you. Jeez. Bro, if you had $100,000 per year and you're living in Malaysia, you're 10 times.
You've got a compound, you got a driver, you got who knows
like
what else.
King,
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Maybe we should relocate IRL to the lower, to Malaysia, Singapore, South Africa. Yeah.
South Africa, that'd be wild.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get a farm. You know.
Yeah. We'll sing some songs.
You know, we'll basically live in a triple Faraday cage just for our own security.
Yeah. I always thought that, like, if Elon really wanted to, he could return to South Africa and just spend, like, a quarter of his net worth and just rule the country for, like, in perpetuity. I'm saying I like having him here to fight for us, but, like, he could do that whenever he wants.
The problem is it's too far away from the equator for launching into space.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he would have to, like hire some PMCs to take some land or something. I don't know, but I don't know if you're listening. I mean, you could literally just become king, like, really whenever you want.
Yeah. Let's jump to this next story from NPR. We are all Jimmy Kimmel. What late night hosts are saying about Kimmel's suspension. Well, I'll give you the gist. Stephen Colbert basically doubled down. He showed on his show the clip of Jimmy Kimmel saying the shooter was effectively MAGA, and then he goes, is that it? What's wrong with that? Like, he's just being Jimmy Kimmel. That's totally fine. And I think what Colbert is doing, I think he's trying to get fired. His show is already canceled. He's already super rich. He doesn't need to do this anymore. His ratings are in the gutter. Could you imagine? Jimmy Kimmel's only getting 129,000 in the key demo. I gotta be completely honest. If you are like a college age dude, you're Gen Z, and you finally reach that point where your podcast, every day you're doing an hour-long podcast, you're cracking 129,000, you're going like, this is amazing. Because if you're getting 129K on a podcast in the key demo, you are making money on that podcast. I mean, you're probably making like $500,000 a year with proper sponsorships and all that stuff. You don't always sell, sometimes you do. So you're Gen Z, you're like, this is fantastic. But when you're someone like Jimmy Kimmel, and you're worth tens of millions, and you're watching your ratings just plummet, I'm sure he's got to be having an existential crisis. Colbert, I should say, more to this point. Colbert used to get millions, and now the ratings are just in the gutter. And while he's still getting like $1.5 million to $2 million in the retiree demographic, I'm not trying to disrespect retirees, key demo is gone. At a certain point, don't you just take a look at the numbers and go, Well, it was good while it lasted. You know, there were bands that put out 2 albums and they're on the top, and then you never hear from them again.
Yep.
So Colbert, I think, is basically like, they cancel the contract, but I'm stuck here. I'm stuck here until the next 8 months. I know. He can't violate the morality clause in his contract overtly, because then they'll just come after him for money. But if he pokes a bear quite a bit, then they might just be like, all right, Colbert, you're off the air. And you go, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole, you know, I'm gonna double down, and I've got, you know, he had the story that he's had a more inflammatory monologue to give the second day that after he initially kind of, you know, offended people. That kind of makes me think that you might have a point, because look, it was clear that, like, the first things that he said, while they were distasteful, they weren't really like going after either the voters or Charlie Kirk himself. It was definitely poking at Trump, which is, you know, standard fare for Jimmy Kimmel. But if he was going to do a monologue going after, you know, the MAGA voters, you know, essentially, which is basically most of the Republicans nowadays, you know, the vast majority at least, that, you know, I understand why they would be like, yo, we don't want this, you know. So maybe he did have a.
I think Colbert's
I'm gonna say it, and if it ends up killing my employment here, that's fine.
Colbert's legacy right now is he fizzled out and fell apart. If he gets fired overtly and his show is taken off the air abruptly, then he's gonna start doing the rounds and, you know, go to liberals who are gonna be like, look at Trump, he's a fascist, this proves it.
Yeah, well, I think he's like envious that Kimmel in and of himself has become like a wedge issue now, and he's like, that should have been me.
That's true.
I got pulled first.
Exactly. Colbert's show they announced they were terminating the contract, but they're keeping him on the air, so it's not that big a deal. And then Kimmel gets yanked at the last minute, and Colbert's like, I have to imagine, how old is Colbert? Like 70?
He might be, you know. It's a lot of hair dye.
How old is he? Let's find out. He's 61. All right, I wasn't that far off.
But about as old as most of the people watching at this point.
They're older.
Yeah.
No, but for real, they're 70. It's about 70 plus. I have to imagine when you're 61, not everybody, but a lot of people, and you're worth tens of millions. I mean, what's Colbert's net worth? Let's find out. Colbert net worth. These things are always wrong. What's the ballpark on his net worth? 75 million? Bro, don't you just want to put your feet up and sip a pina colada and, you know, just chill? What's he doing? It's like his ratings are so down in the gutter. He's got to just be like, well, you know, been there, done that. Won his Emmy.
It has to be said. It has to be said. So I'm gonna say it, and hope I don't offend anyone. But the truth of the matter is, you know, Kada appeared on FNT, and you know, here he is. Oh, you know, last year, you know, this time I thought I made a mistake doing YouTube, putting myself out there. Now I'm closer to 30,000 on YouTube. I'm a part of Geeks and Gamers, collabed with Brett Cooper, and now I'm going to be on the biggest pop culture podcast, FNT, Chase Your Dreams for Real. Well, FNT went woke. Kada, gay. Kada, short. Kada, black. Kada, retarded. FNT has gone woke. Okay? Keep wondering, why do I not appear on that show? Why would I? Keep bringing black people on the show. Not gonna keep Ryan much longer at this rate. Oh, we need representation on our show. We need some representation so they don't call us racist on Twitter. Nah, for real though, it's awesome Kata's on there. I put Mike's been on there. Hail to my Friday Night Tights crew. They are the best. And everybody's like, oh, where's Jeremy? I'll be back. I'll be back. Just got all kind of crap going on these days. Always busy doing something. So, but yes, hail to Friday Night Tights. Aussie Dad Andrew with a $10 and says nothing. Thank you so much. Coop for 10 says, I had no idea who Milo is and went down the rabbit hole. I might never be the same, but Dims did this. I would say may God have mercy on their souls, but they don't have them. Very true. I mean, I can't sit here and say I'm like the most familiar person with Milo, but you know, so I don't know a lot about him, but I know that he I guess he's out of retirement now after the Charlie Kirk situation. And yeah, I mean, I think we should probably get into a lot of, like, today has been wild, and the amount of things that's happened today has been wild. First and foremost, we got President Trump going off on an ABC reporter right here. So I've got it turned up as loud as it'll go. So this ABC reporter, let's listen to what Trump says.
I've become immune to it. I've become immune to it. There's never been a person that's had more unfair publicity than me. That's why your network paid me $15 million or something.
Look at this guy right here. Hang on, let me go. So when Trump says that, this guy right here just starts laughing. This guy over here, you'll see him just put his head down. He starts laughing as soon as Trump says this.
$15 million or $16 million, to be exact, George Papadopoulos. And that's why CBS paid me a lot of money too. And that's why I sued the New York Times 2 days ago for a lot of money. Because I'm winning. I mean, I'm winning cases. The reason I'm winning is because you know me, Jack. ABC is a terrible network, a very unfair network, and you should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. I think they're equally bad. And, you know, for you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me questions like that. Look, you paid a big price because you were dishonest. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say, oh, well, what do you think? You know, like you're some wonderful person. You're not a wonderful person. Actually, you're a terrible reporter. You know it, and so do I. Okay?
So for those that couldn't hear it, because I see you saying the audio's low, ABC is a terrible network. You should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. They're equally bad. For you to stand there and act so innocent, you paid a big price because you're dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. You can't sit back and think you're a wonderful person. You're not a wonderful person. Frankly, you're a terrible reporter. You know it, and so do I. Trump is just absolutely savage, dude. And he's kind of reached this point where he's not putting up with anybody's bullcrap anymore. He's just not going to do it. He's like, I'm done. I'm done with you. You're liars. You, let's see, what is this? Oh, snap. This just happened? President Trump confirms there will be a major 2026 Republican National Convention, which will help surge turnout to the polls. The Republican Party wants very badly a convention in 2026 midterm election. We will have one at the highest level. It will be both fun and very productive. Make America great again. Let's go. Dude is unstoppable, man. Trump does it again. Absolutely awesome. I mean, I was at the last one, so hopefully I'll be able to make